Tired of seeing your putts rocket 6 feet past the hole, or maybe stop 5 feet short of the hole? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you some secrets that you likely haven't heard before to manage and help you control the speed and distance of your putts so that you 3-putt less and make more. You can't afford to ignore these secrets. Controlling your putting speed and distance is one of the most important aspects of 3-putting less and making more putts. Let's face it, you're not 3-putting because you miss 5 feet to the left or 6 feet to the right. You're 3-putting because you miss it short, blasting it past the hole, or you miss it long, and then you've got a stressful second putt that you miss, and you end up 3-putting. Well, in this video, we're going to fix that. I'm going to give you several concepts and then several drills to accomplish that. The first thing, if you want to manage speed and distance control, and this one's going to surprise you, is you have to have clean, consistent contact. You see, everybody goes, oh, well, of course I contact the ball well, but no, you don't. I have students come to me all the time in personal and private lessons, and they say that they struggle with speed and distance control. And you start watching them putt, and they're inconsistent with their contact. They're not hitting the ball in the center of the putter face, a little bit off the toe or a little bit off the heel. And you see, here's the thing. If you don't strike the ball consistently in the sweet spot the same way every time, you can't control speed and distance. Off the heel, off the toe affects how far the ball rolls, and the more or less off the heel or toe, the more or less it affects the speed and distance. If you're striking slightly down on the ball when you make contact, it beats the ball into the ground and it doesn't roll consistency. If you have a little bit too much loft at contact, it launches the ball in the air, and then depending on how hard or how soft the greens are on that day, it rolls a different distance. So before you can start really working on speed and distance control, you've got to fix contact and get solid, consistent, square contact in the middle of the putter face. I've done a complete online course called How to Putt the Right Way, and we spend a lot of time in setup, like 11 lessons on setup in that video course, so that you get consistent contact, setup and stroke, moving the ball in the same way so that you're hitting it the same way every time your contact is consistent. Then, once you got consistent contact, you can work on managing speed and distance. More information on that course in the video description. Once you've got contact down, now let's talk about managing speed and distance. And you got to have a couple of things. I've done a lot of videos on this on the channel, so just quickly, you've got to have a tempo to your putting stroke. And I always talk about you can use a metronome or whatever, but you want to start the stroke on one beat and contact the ball on the next, and then preferably look up on the third beat to see where the ball went. And that tempo is going to vary from golfer to golfer. You can choose one for you with a metronome or by feel or by playing a song in your head or humming a song, but you need a consistent tempo to your stroke. I see so many people who are like this. On short putts, their tempo's like that. On longer putts, it's like this. No, you need to move the putter at the same approximate pace and tempo, whether it's a long putt or a short putt. You've got to have a consistent rhythm and tempo. Once you have a consistent rhythm and tempo, then you can work on the length of stroke, and that's how you control speed and distance. Let me give you a little thing to try here that will help you appreciate this rhythm and tempo and the length of stroke. So what I want you to do is drop a ball on the ground and pick a target about 30 feet away, and I want you to roll the ball at that target with a very short stroke. And you're going to see, wow, you have to really pop it to get it there. Then I want you to roll a ball at the same target 30 feet away with a really long, slow stroke. And get a feeling for that. And you're trying to roll it the same exact distance, and then pick a tempo in between those two and use that to try to roll your stroke. I just want you to get a feel for how fast you're moving the putter and the length of the stroke affects distance. Get a tempo there that's comfortable for you. So once you have a tempo for you, you're going to control the speed and distance with the length of the stroke. And here's a concept mentally that you need to get a grasp on so that you'll have a handle on this. That concept is we don't hit putts, we roll putts. And all you're trying to do is maintain your tempo and have a length of stroke and then let the ball respond. I'm never thinking about I'm hitting the ball this far or that far. I'm making a stroke and letting the ball respond this far or that far or whatever length it is. It's a subtle thing, but it makes a difference. I'm not hitting the ball. I'm making a stroke that rolls the putt and allowing the ball to respond to that. Biggest thing I see with controlling the distance of putts and the speed of putts with the length of your stroke is there's so many people that are one-dimensional when it comes to their backstroke. They've got one backstroke that they're comfortable with, and they use that same length of backstroke if it's a 3-foot putt or if it's a 30-foot putt. And that creates huge problem. In fact, that's just backwards. You should have one length of follow through. Follow through on a putt should always be, I'm trying to stop my hands right in here somewhere and hold the finish. And yeah, on a longer putt, my hands might move a little bit further because of momentum, but it's the thought, the intent, trying to stop here. You should have one length of follow through and hold the finish, but the backstroke, you should have multiple lengths depending on the length of the putt. I see so many people who get this backward. I have a neighbor who's a pretty good putter. He plays well, but he has the same length of backstroke on every putt. And when he gets to something that's more than 10 or 12 feet, it gets really ugly because all of a sudden he's having to hit the ball harder and his body is twisting. You get out to a 30-footer, my gosh, it looks like he got struck by lightning in the middle of his stroke. You don't want to be that guy. Now, there are lots of ways that you can learn to manage controlling speed and distance with the length of your backstroke. For some people, it's purely a feel thing. For other people, it's a thought process. Oh, I'm going to take it back to the inside of this heel for this length, take it back to the toe for this length, or back here for another length. Any of that is fine. You do what's comfortable for you. We have a person who's a subscriber to this channel, and they use a method. I'll put a ball down here so you can see what they do. He's practiced a ton, and he's gotten to where he knows he's practiced a ton, and he's gotten to where he knows he sets up and then he moves the putter back. And he says, okay, that's my distance for a 6-foot putt. That's my distance for a 3-foot putt. This is my distance for a 20-foot putt, whatever. But he's got that in his mind, and he sets up, takes it back, and then makes the stroke from there. He's very specifically controlling the length of his backstroke. I don't think that's a great idea for everybody, but that's a way to do it. Bryson DeChambeau uses a ruler like I have here with dots and marks and measurements on it for how far to take it back for the difference in the length of the putt. You could use a tool like the one here that's going to be available in a couple of weeks with the marks behind the ball, and you can use something like that, anything to measure, but you're still going to have an element of feel to the length of your stroke for the length of the putt because the green speeds change every day. And so if you've got a system like a ruler and you're moving it back this many inches for 10 feet, and that's at a 10 green speed, well, you got to move it back further than that when the green speed is only an 8. Or if the stemp is a 14, you got to move it back less than that. So there's an element of feel. And so what I'm going to do now is give you a couple of little drills that you can do to develop a feel so that you can make those adjustments easily. And again, some people do this more with a tool or some marking that's a specific amount back. That's certainly fine. But if you do it by feel, you're going to need a combination of both of these. So the first thing for feel is just use a one-handed stroke. Take your dominant hand. For most of us, that's going to be your trail arm. Maybe you're right-handed, but your dominant arm is left. That would be very surprising, but it could happen. I know a couple of people like that. But take your dominant arm, set up to a putt, and just work on the feel for how far I need to take the putter back to make this length of putt or that length of putt. Work on that. It'll give you a sense of feel there. The second thing will help you a lot with regards to controlling speed and distance is simply a pause drill. Set up over a ball, take your putter back the length that you think it needs to go back for this putting stroke, hold it, pause it, and then go through. And just work on making a stroke like that. You're trying to develop some touch and some feel. And then what you do is, while you may use another method for a measurement for you for how far back and through to take it to control speed and distance, you work on that feel for a little bit for every round, which helps you adjust for the green speed of that day. One last thought on putting this whole thing together, and that's this. When you're out on the course, if you've got a putt that's 15 feet or longer, I want you to focus a little bit less on the line and much more on the speed. Here's the fact. I don't care how good you are. Even if you're tour pro quality, you're making about 1 out of 4 from 15 feet or longer. So you're not going to make a lot of them. What you don't want to do from there is 3-putt. And so when you're reading the green, pay more attention to, is this putt uphill or downhill? Give more thought to the speed. I often on these, and I don't take a practice stroke when I putt, but if it's 15 feet or longer, I do. And I stand behind the ball and I'm looking out at the target and I'm thinking, okay, that's how far I want to stroke it to get a third of the way there. All right, that's about 2/3. All right, that's what I need to get it all the way. I'm thinking more about speed when the putt is 15 feet or longer. Combine that with these methods and these little drills for having a consistent tempo and managing the speed and distance with the length of your stroke, and you'll make a lot more. And if you like making more, here's a simple drill for that. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Put your questions below. Check out this video on the screen now. And until next time, here's to you making more putts.